Today we're proceeding with chapter 9 of Srimad Bhagavatam, the nectarian pastime of the Damodar Leela. Yesterday, Mother Yasoda, she rose early so that she could prepare some nice butter for Krishna. She was churning the yogurt and singing the pastimes of Krishna. And Krishna woke up a little early, wondered where she was, why she wasn't paying attention to him. So he started to cry and he started to go towards her. But she was so busy with her churning that even though he was right there where she was, she didn't notice him. So the acharyas say that this is actually the way we can attract Krishna. When we become so busy in our devotional service that Krishna himself comes to us. Not that we just sit and wait around for him to appear. So this is a recommendation to the acharyas to always be very fully engaged in devotional service. Now, when Krishna climbed on Mother Yasoda's lap to drink her milk, the milk that she had put on the oven boiled over. So she quickly put Krishna down and went to attend to the milk. Because all of the paraphernalia of Krishna is very important. So by intuition, Krishna told her, you have to take care of that milk. But to carry out this Leela, when he was put down by Mother Yasoda, he became very angry. He started to bite his lips became very red, and he decided he would do some mischief. He had to break something, because Mother Yasoda neglected him. He wasn't fully satisfied. Now, we've come to this point.
Left in that state by his mother, Krishna became very angry, and his lips and eyes became red in rage. He pressed his teeth and lips, and taking up a piece of stone, he immediately broke the butter pot. He took butter out of it, and with false tears in his eyes, he began to eat the butter in a secluded place. Krishna Book, Chapter 9. Being very angry and biting his reddish lips with his teeth, Krishna, with false tears in his eyes, broke the container of yogurt with a piece of stone. Then he entered a room and began to eat the freshly churned butter in a solitary place. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:9-6. It is natural that when a child becomes angry, he can begin crying with false tears in his eyes. So Krishna did this, and biting his reddish lips with his teeth, he broke the pot with a stone, entered a room, and began to eat freshly churned butter. Purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 10:9-6.
But because Mother Yasoda had just started the churning, there wasn't much butter in that pot that he had broken. So when he went into the other room, he turned upside down the grinding mortar, and he climbed up on top of that to reach the butter pot that was hanging from the ceiling. That also he took to eat, and then he went out to feed the monkeys. Even the crows came. Everyone came and had a big festival with Krishna. But because Krishna knew he had done something wrong, he was expecting Mother Yasoda to come and chastise him. So though he was eating and feeding the monkeys, he kept looking from side to side and backwards to see when Mother Yasoda was going to come.
In the meantime, Mother Yashoda returned to churning place after setting the overflowing milk pan in order. She saw the broken pot in which the churning yogurt was kept. Since she could not find her boy, she concluded that the broken pot was his work. Krishna Book, Chapter 9. Mother Yashoda, after taking down the hot milk from the oven, returned to the churning spot, and when she saw that the container of yogurt was broken and that Krishna was not present, she concluded that the breaking of the pot was work of Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:9-7. Seeing the pot broken and Krishna not present, Yashoda definitely concluded that the breaking of the pot was the work of Krishna. There was no doubt about it. Purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 10:9-7.
Now, all along, when the other gopis in the neighborhood would come and complain to Mother Yasoda, she adamantly denied that her little son could never do such things. Now, in her own home, Krishna has broken her yogurt pot and he's disappeared. Now, when he broke the yogurt pot from the bottom, because he didn't want the yogurt to make a noise, we discussed that yesterday, he was very intelligent, all of the yogurt came out onto the floor. And rather than walking around the yogurt, because he was playing just like a small child, he walked right through the yogurt. And because he walked right through the yogurt, he made little yogurt footprints. So Mother Yasoda could easily trace his footsteps. Now this is the first avatar that Krishna has done mischief, and now he's going to get punished.
She began to smile as she thought, the child is very clever. After breaking the pot, he has left this place fearing punishment. After she sought all over, she found a big wooden grinding mortar which was kept upside down, and she found her son sitting on it. He was taking butter which was hanging from the ceiling on a swing, and he was feeding it to the monkeys. She saw Krishna looking this way and that way in fear of her because he was conscious of his naughty behavior. After seeing her son so engaged, she very silently approached him from behind. Krishna book, chapter 9.
So Krishna is very happy feeding the monkeys, his friends. And we know that this pastime is celebrated during the month of Kartik. We sing the Damodar Astakam prayers. And we also worship Radha Damodar. Now Dam Udar means being bound at the belly. Mother Yasoda actually bound Krishna with her love. But where does Radharani come into this Leela? Because this is between little Krishna and Mother Yasoda. So after this Leela took place, we heard before that Mother Yasoda used to make up songs, poetry, about Krishna's pastimes. So when she would churn the butter, the young gopis would hear her singing. And after this pastime, she made up a beautiful song about Krishna when he stole the butter and Mother Yasoda tied him up. And Radharani would listen to this song. And she would think, Mother Yasoda was able to tie up Krishna with her love. I'd like to do that also. So she tried to figure out a way that she could tie Krishna up with her love. Now there are two different ways that she tied him up. One was when Krishna and Radharani were very small children, just like this age. They were walking hand in hand in the nearby forest of Vrindavan. And there, they took their youthful forms. And Brahma came, and the demigods came, and Brahma performed their wedding ceremony. And we know that during the wedding, the dhoti and the sari are tied together. So that was one Leela where Radharani was able to tie up Krishna during this wedding ceremony. The other Leela was, later, she was in her kunj waiting for Krishna. They had a rendezvous. And she was waiting and waiting, but Krishna was late. When he finally came, very late, she was angry at him. And she decided that now's my opportunity. Just as Mother Yasoda tied him up for doing mischief, I know he did some mischief, that's why he's late. So she took some golden vines and she tied up Krishna then. But then Krishna explained to her that no. Mother Yasoda, she kept me at home because she wanted me to perform a festival with her. That's why I'm late. So then Radharani was very sorry and she untied those vines. So these were the two instances when Radharani had the opportunity to tie up Krishna also. And the month of Kartik itself it's called the Damodar month because of this Leela. And the deity of that month is Radharani. So it's recommended in the Hari Bhakti Vilas that if one worships Radharani at this time, she will bless him with love for Krishna. So this Radha Damodar Leela and the Radha Damodar Murtis are especially worshipped and appreciated for how one can tie up Krishna with their love. So here, Mother Yasoda, she's smiling, she's appreciating how clever her son is. Even the crows are getting, so you see the crow flying there at Krishna's hand. Everyone's getting some nice butter that she had specially prepared for Krishna. But she decided that, all right, I've seen it myself now, and it's time for me to punish him so he stops this mischief.
Krishna at that time was sitting on upside down wooden mortar for grinding spices and was distributing milk preparations such as yogurt and butter to the monkeys as he liked. Because of having stolen, he was looking all around with great anxiety, suspecting that he might be chastised by his mother. Mother Yashoda, upon seeing him, very cautiously approached him from behind. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.9.8.
So this is Krishna pretending to be a little child. Mother Yasoda has no concept of the fact that he's the supreme, unlimited personality of Godhead. For her, he's her little son, and he's done a lot of mischief in her house. So she picked up a stick and she started to chase him.
Mother Yashoda was able to trace Krishna by following his butter-smeared footprints. She saw that Krishna was stealing butter, and thus she smiled. Meanwhile, the crows also entered the room and came out in fear. Thus, Mother Yashoda found Krishna stealing butter and very anxiously looking here and there. Purport to 10.9.8. Krishna, however, quickly saw her coming at him with a stick in her hand. And immediately he got down from the grinding mortar and began to flee in fear. Mother Yashoda chased him to all corners, trying to capture the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is never approached even by meditations of great yogis. In other words, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is never caught by the yogis and speculators, was playing just like a little child for a great devotee like Mother Yashoda. Krishna Book, Chapter 9.
Now first Krishna started trying to escape by running to different rooms of the house. He was running here and there. Mother Yasoda was running behind him with the stick in her hand. Krishna was very afraid of that stick because he thought that Mother Yasoda was going to beat him with the stick. So after he started running around in the rooms, then he escaped out of the house and they started running around on the streets of the neighborhood. And all of the other gopis and the residents, they said, what's happened? They never saw anything like this before because usually Mother Yasoda is so affectionate to her child. Now she's chasing him with a stick and he's running in fear from her, trying to escape her. So they were completely bewildered. What's happened to Mother Yasoda? Why is she chasing little Krishna like this?
When Lord Sri Krishna saw his mother stick in hand, he very quickly got down from the top of the mortar and began to flee, as if very much afraid. Although yogis try to capture him as Paramatma by meditation, desiring to enter into the effulgence of the Lord with great austerities and penances, they fail to reach him. But Mother Yashoda, thinking that same personality of Godhead Krishna to be her son, began following Krishna to catch him. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.9.9.
So we hear here that the yogis, not only yogis, jnanis, karmis, speculators, the Vedantists, they're all searching for Krishna, but they can't find him. Maximum they can approach his effulgence. And even if they manage to enter into his effulgence, they still fall down. It's only the pure devotees such as Mother Yasoda who can chase after Krishna and actually capture him.
Yogis, mystics want to catch Krishna as Paramatma, and with great austerities and penances they try to approach him, yet they cannot. Here we see, however, that Krishna is going to be caught by Yashoda and is running away in fear. This illustrates the difference between Bhakta and a yogi. Yogis cannot reach Krishna, but for pure devotees like Mother Yashoda, Krishna is already caught. Krishna was even afraid of Mother Yashoda's stick. This was mentioned by Queen Kunti in her prayers, Bhaya Bhavanaya Sthitasya, Srimad Bhagavatam 1.8.31. Krishna is afraid of Mother Yashoda and yogis are afraid of Krishna. Yogis try to reach Krishna by Jnana Yoga and other yogas but fail. Yet, although Mother Yashoda was a woman, Krishna was afraid of her, as clearly described in this verse. Purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 10.9.9.
So the first verse of Damodar Astakam, Namam Ishwaram Sachirananda Vigra Sachirananda Rupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yashoda Biyo Lukala Devamanam Param
Paramrishtam Atyantato Dritya Gopya.
So that verse is describing this lila. First of all, Satyavrata Muni is establishing Krishna as the Ishwara and Sachidananda Rupam. That here's the Supreme Lord, but he's running away from Mother Yasoda in fear. While he's running, his earrings, which are brilliant, Lasat Kundalam, they're the most fortunate of all of his ornaments, because as he's running and looking backwards, his earrings keep kissing his cheeks. And who's chasing him but the most pious and chaste mother, Yashoda? So first, Satyavrata Muni, he describes the Rupa Vishesh of the Lord, how beautiful he is. Then he describes the Parivara Vishesh, how special Mother Yasoda and all the members of the neighborhood of Braj, all of the cowherd men and women were so special, the Parivara Vishesh. And then he begins to describe this Lila Vishesh, this beautiful Lila of how Mother is chasing him with a stick. Finally she captures him, and in great fear, Krishna starts to rub his eyes, and we'll hear what happens.
My dear Krishna, Yashoda took up a rope to bind you when you committed an offense, and your perturbed eyes overflooded with tears, which washed the mascara from your eyes. And you were afraid, though fear personified is afraid of you. This sight is bewildering to me. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.8.31.
So this is Krishna's auntie, Kunti Devi, the mother of the Pandavas. And Kunti Devi spoke this beautiful prayer just as Krishna was about to return to Dwarka. He had been in Hastinapur and Indraprastha with the Pandavas for a long time now. He had tried to appease the Kauravas to stop the war. Instead, Duryodhana told his guards to tie him up because they wanted to put him in jail so that he couldn't assist Arjun during the war. So Krishna laughed at Duryodhana. He said, "How can you tie me?" And then he showed his universal form to him. And when the guards saw the universal form and how expansive it was, they all fainted in fear. So then the war occurred, and by Krishna's desire, all of the Kauravas were killed. And on the Pandavas side also, there were many deaths. Only the Pandavas survived. So on both sides, there were so many deaths both of the families went to the Ganges and they performed the funeral rites. And after the funeral rites, Krishna announced that he was going to now return to Dwarka. He was saying goodbye to everyone on his chariot, and just then, Uttara comes running to him, that there's a fiery iron arrow coming to me to kill my embryo. Let it kill me, but don't let it kill this child, the last of the Kuru dynasty. So Krishna as Paramatma, he's sitting in his chariot, because Paramatma is also in the heart of Uttara. That Paramatma enveloped the embryo and protected Parikshit Maharaj. So after this Leela, again he's trying to leave, and then Kunti Devi comes and offers beautiful prayers. And though Kunti Devi is the aunt of Krishna, she can't fathom the great fortune of Mother Yasoda, because she was able to tie up Krishna with her love. She's trying to understand it, but because she knows that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, she just saw what he had done for her granddaughter-in-law, Arjun's son's wife. So she knows that he's the Supreme Lord, just as Devaki knows that he's the Supreme Lord. And she's just amazed at the fortune of Yashoda.
Here is a specific example of Lord's being the supreme and at the same time plaything in the presence of his pure devotee. The Lord's pure devotee renders service unto the Lord out of unalloyed love only, and while discharging such devotional service, the pure devotee forgets the position of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord also accepts the loving service of his devotees more relishably when the service is rendered spontaneously out of pure affection, without anything of reverential admiration. Generally, the Lord is worshipped by the devotees in a reverential mood, a reverential attitude. But the Lord is meticulously pleased when the devotee, out of pure affection and love, considers the Lord to be less important than himself. Purport to 1.8.31.
So this is the special darshan that Krishna gave when he displayed his Gokula pastimes here on earth, that the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they had no reverential admiration for Krishna as the Supreme Lord. They treated him as less important, as a little child that had to be corrected, as one of their playmates on whose shoulders they could ride, as a fiancé who they could chastise. So in all the rasas, there was no question of majestic admiration. They just had pure love for him and treated him as a child.
The Lord's pastimes in original abode of Golok Vrindavan are exchanged in that spirit. Friends of Krishna consider him one of them. They do not consider him to be of reverential importance. The parents of Lord, who are all pure devotees, consider him a child only. The Lord accepts the chastisement of the parents more cheerfully than the prayers of Vedic hymns. Similarly, he accepts the reproaches of his fiancés more palatably than the Vedic hymns. Purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 1.8.31.
So as Krishna grew older, these chidings and the gopis, how they used to insult Krishna and call him names. So when it got to that point, Krishna really enjoyed this very much. Because otherwise, those in the majestic mood, they're offering so many lofty prayers, but Krishna is more attracted to the abuses given by the devotees in Braj to him about all of the mischief that he performs.
When Lord Krishna was present in this material world to manifest his eternal pastimes of transcendental realm of Golok Vrindavan as an attraction for the people in general, he displayed a unique picture of subordination before his foster mother, Yashoda. The Lord, in his naturally childish, playful activities, used to spoil the stocked butter of Mother Yashoda by breaking the pots and distributing the contents to his friends and playmates, including the celebrated monkeys of Vrindavan, who took advantage of Lord's munificence. Purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 1.8.31.
So we're still hearing now, as an addendum to this, Kunti Devi's prayer, the purport to that. How Prabhupada explains that what we're hearing about right now in the Srimad Bhagavatam are the Gokul Lila. The Gokul Lila is a partial display of the eternal Nitya Lila that's going on in Goloka Vrindavan. Krishna comes here just to display especially these childhood pastimes because they're so attractive that then people will want to return to the spiritual world. So we're getting a little view of the wonderful fun, enjoyment that Krishna has with his devotees in the eternal realm of Vrindavan.
Mother Yashoda saw this, and out of her pure love, she wanted to make a show of punishment for her transcendental child. She took a rope and threatened the Lord that she would tie him up, as is generally done in the ordinary household. Seeing the rope in the hands of Mother Yashoda, the Lord bowed down his head and began to weep just like a child, and tears rolled down his cheeks, washing off the black ointment smeared about his beautiful eyes. This picture of the Lord is adorned by Kunti Devi because she is conscious of Lord's supreme position. Purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 1.8.31.
So because the Pandavas and Kunti Devi, they worshipped him in full knowledge that he was the Supreme Lord, Kunti Devi adored this vision of Krishna crying in fear as Mother Yasoda ties him to the wooden grinding mortar.
He is feared often by fear personified, yet he is afraid of his mother, who wanted to punish him just in an ordinary manner. Kunti was conscious of the exalted position of Krishna, whereas Yashoda was not. Therefore, Yashoda's position was more exalted than Kunti's. Mother Yashoda got the Lord as a child, and the Lord made her forget altogether that her child was the Lord himself. If Mother Yashoda had been conscious of the exalted position of the Lord, she would certainly have hesitated to punish the Lord. But she was made to forget this situation because the Lord wanted to make a complete gesture of childishness before the affectionate Yashoda. Purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 1.8.31.
So this is how we can understand how all the rasas originate with Krishna. Because Krishna here is displaying this childhood pastime with Mother Yasoda. And here in the material world, we also see these activities of a mischievous child and the mother correcting the child. But those are mundane pastimes. With Krishna, everything is eternally blissful. Now Krishna wants to enjoy like this, and he's enjoying like this eternally in Goloka Vrindavan. And he's letting us see that if you really want to have real enjoyment in your relationships, then have those relationships with me. So Mother Yasoda, she's treating him just like an ordinary child. And all of the residents of Vrindavan are taking pleasure in this. In fact, they even try to stop Mother Yasoda, but she won't stop.
This exchange of love between mother and the son was performed in a natural way, and Kunti, remembering this scene, was bewildered. And she could do nothing but praise the transcendental maternal and filial love. Indirectly, Mother Yashoda is praised for her unique position of love, for she could control even the all-powerful Lord as her beloved child. Purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 1.8.31.
Here you see the children hiding so they don't get in trouble also. So Kunti Devi, she had just seen the whole war by Krishna's desire. Everyone was killed because Dushashan and the other Kaurava members, they had insulted her daughter-in-law Draupadi, and therefore Krishna wanted all of these women to become widows. Their husbands were killed. Then she saw how right in front of her eyes he protected the womb, the embryo in the womb. So they saw the incredible, majestic activities of the Supreme Lord. And that was why she was even more astounded at the super excellent position of Mother Yasoda, that here is the Supreme Lord, and there is Mother Yasoda tying him up.
The picture shows many turns around the ukal. Actually, it was only just one turn.
You know this picture?
No, there are so many turns, right? It's just one turn around the... around the belly. Mother Yashoda, however, could not easily catch the fast-running child because of her thin waist and heavy body. Still, she tried to follow him as fast as possible. Her hair loosened and the flowers in her hair fell to the ground. Although she was tired, she somehow reached her naughty child and captured him. Krishna Book, Chapter 9. While following Krishna, Mother Yashoda, her thin waist overburdened by her heavy breasts, naturally had to reduce her speed. Because she followed Krishna very swiftly, her hair became loose and flowers in her hair were falling after her, yet she did not fail to capture her son Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:9-10.
So now we have the second lesson of Mother Yasoda working so hard. The first was when she was churning the butter, and she was so absorbed in her service that she didn't even notice when Krishna came to her. Now, although she doesn't normally run after her child like this or even run in public like this, no lady runs around in public in the neighborhood, and her hips and her breasts and her thin waist were keeping her from running very quickly. But she was determined to catch that little mischief monger. So she ran after him. As fast as he went, she ran after him. So all of this parishrama, Krishna's seeing. She's perspiring, she's chasing him, running as fast as she can, and Krishna's just seeing how hard she's trying to catch him.
Yogis cannot capture Krishna by severe penances and austerities, but Mother Yashoda, despite all obstacles, was finally able to catch Krishna without difficulty. This is the difference between a yogi and a bhakta. Yogis cannot enter even the effulgence of Krishna. Yasya prabha prabhavato jagadanda koti kotishvasheshva sudhadi vibhuti bhinnam. Brahma Samhita 5.40. In that effulgence there are millions of universes, but yogis and jnanis cannot enter that effulgence even after many years of austerities. Whereas bhaktas can capture Krishna simply by love and affection. This is the example shown here by Mother Yashoda. Purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 10:9-10.
But love and affection, as Prabhupada has taught us, means devotional service. And we can see how much Mother Yasoda endeavored in her service. And Krishna noted that. And he was pleased with her hard parishrama.
Krishna therefore confirms that if one wants to capture him, one must undertake devotional service. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato jnatva vishate tadanantaram. Bhaktas enter even the planet of Krishna very easily, but the less intelligent yogis and jnanis by their meditation remain running after Krishna. Even if they enter Krishna's effulgence, they fall down. Report to Srimad Bhagavatam 10:9-10.
So as we heard, the Nitya Siddha Bhaktas, who are expansions of Krishna's body, they come with the Supreme Lord to display pastimes with him, to attract our minds. And these pastimes are full of devotional service. No one is sitting around meditating on Krishna. In fact, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sukadeva Goswami explains that the cowherd men, the other residents of Vrindavan, they worked so hard all day and night, they didn't have time to meditate. They didn't even have time to study because they were so busy in their service, taking care of the cows, milking the cows, making the milk preparations, and all of this was being done for Krishna. And that is the qualification whereby we can easily enter into the spiritual world, as written here.
When he was caught, Krishna was almost on the point of crying. He smeared his hands over his eyes, which were anointed with black eye cosmetics. The child saw his mother's face while she stood over him, and his eyes became restless from fear. Mother Yashoda could understand that Krishna was unnecessarily afraid, and for his benefit she wanted to allay his fears. Krishna Book, Chapter 9. When caught by Mother Yashoda, Krishna became more and more afraid and admitted to being an offender. As she looked upon him, she saw that he was crying, his tears mixing with the black ointment around his eyes, and as he rubbed his eyes with his hands, he smeared the ointment all over his face. Mother Yashoda, catching her beautiful son by the hand, mildly began to chastise him. Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 9, 11.
Do you know the second verse of Damodarastakam?
Rudantam muhurnetram yugmam rajantam karambhoja yugmena satanka netram muhushvasakam patri rekhanka kantha sthitagraiva damodaram bhakti-baddham.
So that verse describes now. Not only is he crying, but swasakampa, his breath is very uneven, and he's trembling. He's trembling in fear of his mother, that she'll beat him or she'll punish him. So this is child Krishna. He's finally met someone more powerful than him, his mother.
From these dealings between Mother Yashoda and Krishna, we can understand the exalted position of a pure devotee in loving service to the Lord. Yogis, Jnanis, Karmis and Vedantists cannot even approach Krishna. They must remain very, very far away from him and try to enter his bodily effulgence, although this also they are unable to do. Great demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva always worship the Lord by meditation and by service. Even the most powerful Yamaraj fears Krishna. Therefore, as we find in the history of Ajamil, Yamaraj instructed his followers not even to approach the devotees, or to speak of capturing them. In other words, Yamaraj also fears Krishna and Krishna's devotees. Purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 9, 11.
In the next frame, we'll hear the instructions that Yamaraj gives to the Yamadutas. And after he instructs them to never go near the devotees, don't even see them, he then offers a prayer to the Supreme Lord and begs forgiveness for the offenses that his servants and he himself committed to the devotees.
My dear servants, please bring to me only those sinful persons who do not use their tongues to chant the holy name and qualities of Krishna, whose hearts do not remember the lotus feet of Krishna even once, and whose heads do not bow down even once before Lord Krishna. Send me those who do not perform their duties toward Vishnu, which are the only duties in human life. Please bring me all such fools and rascals. Srimad Bhagavatam 6.3.29. Because this very confidential historical narration has the potency to vanquish all sinful reactions, one who hears or describes it with faith and devotion is no longer doomed to hellish life, regardless of his having a material body and regardless of how sinful he may have been. Indeed, the Yamadutas who carry out the orders of Yamaraj do not approach him even to see him. After giving up his body, he returns home back to Godhead, where he is very respectfully received and worshipped. Srimad Bhagavatam 6.2.47 and 48.
So by our great fortune, Sukadeva Goswami explained the narration of Ajamil and how he was liberated and returned to Vaikuntha Loka. And for our benefit, even just by hearing this pastime, we also can go back to Godhead. Therefore, just to show the elevated position of the devotees, Yamaraj warns his servants, don't go near them. And we have to be very careful, therefore, that we do not offend the devotees, because they're going back to Krishna. And if we want to go back to Krishna, we don't want to offend them.
Yet this Krishna became so dependent on Mother Yashoda that when she simply showed Krishna the stick in her hand, Krishna admitted to being an offender and began to cry like an ordinary child. Mother Yashoda, of course, did not want to chastise her beloved child very much, and therefore she immediately threw her stick away and simply rebuked Krishna, saying, "Now I shall bind you so that you cannot commit any further offensive activities, nor for the time being can you play with your playmates." This shows the position of a pure devotee, in contrast with others like Jnanis, Yogis and the followers of Vedic ritualistic ceremonies, in regarding the transcendental nature of the absolute truth. Purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 10:9-11.
So while Krishna was playing like this and subordinating himself to his mother, he also had some special things to carry out. So he allowed his mother to tie him up, and his mother, because she was very worried about her son, first of all, he was breaking things, he was stealing, he was feeding butter to the monkeys, and now, because he had become so afraid of Mother Yasoda, she was afraid that he would leave home, that he would go to the bank of the Jamuna. And even before this, when Krishna and Balaram, like we played Luka-Luk, hide and seek, when they would hide, nobody would be able to find them. So she feared that now that the situation had changed and he had become so fearful of her, that he might run away to the Jamuna, to the forest, and they wouldn't be able to find him, and that would cause an even greater disturbance. So she decided that the best thing to do is to, just for a little while, for her to finish her churning and her household duties, to tie him up so he couldn't run away.
Being the topmost well-wisher of her child, Mother Yashoda began to think, if the child is too fearful of me, I don't know what will happen to him. Mother Yashoda then threw away her stick. In order to punish him, she thought to bind his hands with some ropes. She did not know it, but it was actually impossible for her to bind the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna Book, Chapter 9. Mother Yashoda was always overwhelmed with intense love for Krishna, not knowing who Krishna was or how powerful he was. Because of maternal affection for Krishna, she never even cared to know who he was. Therefore, when she saw that her son had become excessively afraid, she threw the stick away and desired to bind him so that he would not commit any further naughty activities. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:9-12. Mother Yashoda wanted to bind Krishna not in order to chastise him, but because she thought that the child was so restless that he might leave the house in fear. That would be another disturbance. Therefore, because of full affection to stop Krishna from leaving the house, she wanted to bind him with rope. Mother Yashoda wanted to impress upon Krishna that since he was afraid merely to see her stick, he should not perform such disturbing activities as breaking the container of yogurt and butter and distributing its contents to the monkeys. Mother Yashoda did not care to understand who Krishna was and how his power spreads everywhere. This is an example of pure love for Krishna. Purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 10:9-12.
So though she had denied everything that the other gopis had told her about Krishna, now that she saw for herself what mischief he could do, she realized it was her responsibility as Krishna's mother to now correct him, because she didn't want him to perform any more mischief in other people's homes and even in his own home. So since she didn't want to beat him, of course, she thought the best thing would be to just tie him up for a little while, because then he would know that if he does mischief, again he's going to be tied up. So again, you can see behind Mother's head his boyfriends there. They're all watching from a distance, because they were all in this together. They were a gang. And Krishna wouldn't do this alone. He had trained his boyfriends how to steal, how to break into people's houses, how to break the butter pots, how to feed the monkeys. They were all expert by that time. But finally, today, only Krishna got caught. And they were afraid that they were going to get punished too, so they stayed a distance away and they watched the whole Leela.
Mother Yashoda was thinking that Krishna was her tiny child. She did not know that the child had no limitation. There is no inside or outside of him, nor beginning or end. He is unlimited and all-pervading. Indeed, he is himself the whole cosmic manifestation. Still, Mother Yashoda was thinking of Krishna as her child. Although he is beyond the reach of all senses, she endeavored to bind him up to a wooden grinding mortar. Krishna Book, Chapter 9.
So in the spiritual world, Krishna is eternally in his different forms. And Mother Yasoda is eternally enjoying these pastimes with Krishna. Here, when we have a child, the child grows up quickly, right? You see a little baby, and in that baby you can see the teenager and then the grown-up person. Because our bodies are temporary and they go through all the transformations. Krishna, on the other hand, he's Nava Yovana. He never gets older than a young boy. Even when he was 125 years old, he still looked like a young boy. But the pastimes of Vrindavan are so special that even when Radharani went to see Krishna in Kurukshetra, it was the same Krishna and she was the same Radharani, but she just wanted to bring him back to Vrindavan where they had their sweet pastimes together. So it's the place, it's the person, and it's the love between the devotees that makes these pastimes so special. So Mother Yasoda, she also once visited Dwarka, and she saw that all of the gopis had attained their destination of marrying Krishna. But ultimately, she only wanted Krishna and Balaram to come back to Vrindavan where they could have their eternal Leela with her.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead has no beginning, no end, no exterior and no interior, no front and no rear. In other words, he is all-pervading. Because he is not under the influence of the element of time, for him there is no difference between past, present and future. He exists in his transcendental form all times, being absolute, being beyond relativity. He is free from distinctions between cause and effect, although he is the cause and effect of everything. That unmanifested person who is beyond the perception of the senses had now appeared as human child, and Mother Yashoda, considering him her own ordinary child, bound him to the wooden mortar with a rope. Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 9, 13 and 14.
Now this is Sukadeva Goswami speaking in 2 verses. He's speaking in advance because she hasn't bound him yet. Something happens. As she tries to bind him, she comes up with a very big obstacle.
In the Bhagavad-Gita 10.12, Krishna is described as Supreme Brahman, Param Brahma Param Dhama. The word Brahma means the greatest. Krishna is greater than the greatest, being unlimited and all-pervading. How can it be possible for the all-pervading to be measured or bound? There again, Krishna is a time factor. Therefore, he is all-pervading not only in space but also in time.
We have measurements of time, but although we are limited by past, present and future, for Krishna these do not exist. Every individual person can be measured, but Krishna has already shown that although he also is an individual, the entire cosmic manifestation is within his mouth. All these points considered, Krishna cannot be measured. How then did Yashoda want to measure him and bind him? Report to Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 9, 13 and 14.
So this is the obstacle that Mother Yasoda, she didn't expect to happen. Because she saw Krishna as her little child, and she felt the best punishment for him was to bind him. You see even here the ropes. But she had no concept of the fact that he was unlimited by time, by space. The whole cosmic manifestation was within his abdomen, his within, his without. They were all completely unlimited. She just saw him as her son, and she wanted to tie him up. So Krishna, at this time, he didn't want to disrupt the maternal affection that Mother Yasoda had for her, but he did want to play some tricks on her.
We must conclude that this took place simply on the platform of pure transcendental love. This was the only cause. Advaitam achyutam anadim anantarupam adyam purana purusham navayavvanam cha vedeshu durlabam adurlabam atmabhaktau govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami. Brahma Samhita 5.33. Everything is one because Krishna is the supreme cause of everything. Krishna cannot be measured or calculated by Vedic knowledge. Vedeshu durlabam. He is available only to devotees. Adurlabam atmabhaktau. Devotees can handle him because they act on the basis of loving service. Bhaktya mama vijanati yavan yaschasmi tattvataha. Bhagavad-Gita 18.55. Thus Mother Yashoda wanted to bind him. Purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 9, 13 and 14.
So what Brahma is singing here, Vedeshu Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto, Mother Yasoda is very kindly displaying for our benefit. We're seeing how for the devotee, they can very easily approach the Supreme Lord. Adurlabam, it's not difficult. Durlab means very difficult to attain. So one who simply studies the Vedas, they cannot approach the Supreme Lord. Who can approach? Those who engage in devotional service, and not just casual devotional service. Mother Yasoda was perspiring, she was chasing after him, she was working very hard to catch him. And with that hard work, with that devotion, she was able to capture him. So this is the mood that the devotees need to maintain when they perform their devotional service. With intensity. If we want to capture the Supreme Lord with our love, we have to work very hard in His service.
But when she tried to bind him, she found that the rope she was using was too short by 2 inches. She gathered more ropes from the house and added to it, but at the end she found the same shortage. In this way she connected all the ropes available at home, but when the final knot was added, she saw that it was still 2 inches too short. Mother Yashoda was smiling, but she was astonished. What was it happening? How was it happening? Krishna book chapter 9. When Mother Yashoda was trying to bind the offending child, she saw that the binding rope was short by a distance the width of 2 fingers. Thus she brought another rope to join to it. Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 9, 15.
So this pastime is described right here in the Srimad Bhagavatam, about as many ropes as she tied together, and there were hundreds of fingers worth of rope, there were hundreds of feet worth of rope. She first, because the gopis were watching her, when the ribbon from her hair wasn't long enough, and only about 2 feet was needed to tie up Krishna. He was a very small child. So then the gopis, they gave their ribbons, that wasn't enough. Then she asked them to go get rope from her house. All the rope was brought, that wasn't enough. Then they brought rope from their houses. Still the 2 fingers worth of not enough rope remained. So they were astounded because the gopis were all watching this also. They couldn't understand it. And they said to Mother Yashoda, don't tie him up. Don't be so stubborn. Let him go now.
Here is the first chapter in Krishna's exhibition of unlimited potency to Mother Yashoda when she tried to bind him. The rope was too short. The Lord had already shown his unlimited potency by killing Putana, Shakatasur, Trunavarta. Now Krishna exhibited another vibhuti or a display of potency to Mother Yashoda. Unless I agree, Krishna desired to show, you cannot bind me. Thus, although Mother Yashoda, in her attempt to bind Krishna, added one rope after another, ultimately she was a failure. When Krishna agreed, however, she was successful. In other words, one must be in transcendental love with Krishna, but that does not mean that one can control Krishna. Purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 10:9-15. When Krishna is
Now there's one philosophy called karma mimamsa that Krishna later will explain to his father. That actually the Supreme Lord, if we just do our karma properly, then by the laws of karma the Supreme Lord is obligated to give us the fruits and the results. But here we understand from this pastime that the Supreme Lord is in no way obligated to do anything unless he agrees to do so. It has nothing to do with action and reaction when you're dealing with the Supreme Lord Krishna. So Mother Yashoda, her endeavor was the utmost. And when Krishna saw that she was trying every way possible to perform this service to him of chastising him, then he agreed to give her mercy. So the 2 things have to be there. First is our endeavor, and second is the Supreme Lord's mercy upon us. So therefore, even when we're preaching, whatever service we're doing, we have to endeavor to our utmost. But nothing is successful without the mercy of the Supreme Lord.
When Krishna is satisfied with one's devotional service, he does everything himself. Sevan mukhehi jivvadau swayameva svaratyadaha. He reveals more and more to the devotee as the devotee advances in service. Jivvadau, this service begins with the tongue, with chanting and with taking the prasad of Krishna. Adak Shri Krishna namadi na bhavet grahyam indriyaihi. Sevan mukhehi jivvadau swayameva svaratyadaha. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 17:136 and purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 10:9-15. No one can understand the transcendental nature of name, form, qualities and pastimes of Shri Krishna through his materially contaminated senses. Only when one becomes spiritually saturated by transcendental service to the Lord are the transcendental name, form, qualities and pastimes of the Lord revealed to him. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-234.
So here, Mother Yashoda, she was trying to tie up the Lord, and this service, she could not understand his real nature. So no one can understand the transcendental nature of the Lord through his materially contaminated senses. So of course Mother Yashoda didn't have materially contaminated senses. She was only thinking in terms of the service that she had to do for her son. But the son then, Krishna, he blessed her. First he showed his mystic potency by not allowing himself to be bound. And then when she was completely exhausted in her endeavor, he then gave her the mercy. And then she was able to bind him. She was successful in her service. So that came just from the mercy of the Supreme Lord. So even though when we engage all of our senses in Krishna's service, still it's only by the mercy of Krishna that we can get some understanding of his qualities.
This new rope was short by measurement of 2 fingers,
And when another rope was joined to it, it was still 2 fingers too short. As many ropes as she joined, all of them failed. Their shortness could not be overcome. Thus Mother Yashoda joined whatever ropes were available in the household, but still she failed in her attempt to bind Krishna. Mother Yashoda's friends, the elderly gopis in the neighborhood, were smiling and enjoying the fun. Similarly, Mother Yashoda, although laboring in that way, was also smiling. All of them were struck with wonder. Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 9, 16 and 17.
So now again, we have that temporary rasa of wonder, adbhuta ras. So not only Mother Yasoda was enjoying the wonderful quality of Krishna of not being able to be bound, but the whole neighborhood by this time had come. They were all watching, and they were also mystified that how is it Mother Yasoda is endeavoring so hard and still she can't tie up her little child. So let's see if we have any more after this.
Actually, this incident was wonderful because Krishna was only a child with small hands. To bind him should have required only a rope not more than 2 feet long. All the ropes in the house combined together might have been hundreds of feet long. But still he was impossible to bind, for all the ropes together were still too short. Naturally, Mother Yashoda and her gopi friends thought, how is this possible? Seeing this funny affair, all of them were smiling. The first rope was short by a measurement of the width of 2 fingers. After the second rope was added, it was still 2 fingers too short. The first rope was short by a measurement of the width of 2 fingers. After the second rope was added, it was still 2 fingers too short. If the shortness of all the ropes were added together, it must have amounted to width of hundreds of fingers. Certainly this was astonishing. This was another exhibition of Krishna's inconceivable potency to his mother and his mother's friends. Purport to 10, 9, 17.
So now we'll end today hearing about Mother Yashoda's endeavor, and tomorrow we'll hear about Krishna's mercy.